This week's episode, UFC 293, Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland. And guys, this is a huge pay-per-view. It's taking place in Sydney, Australia. This is presented by your host, Mitch, with Notorious Pulls Radio. And guys, if you are new to our show, please leave a like, follow, and subscribe on all social media platforms. Now let's get into it. Israel Adesanya, the reigning, defending middleweight champion of the world. I mean, this has to be one of the most active champions in UFC history. I mean, the man has fought in 7 title fights. He's the second most active middleweight in the world, coming to obviously number one, who's Anderson Silva at 11. Adesanya is coming off probably the most historic comeback story of his entire life, having a huge knockout victory against Alex Pereira. I mean, that was absolutely spectacular, his last fight. Obviously, this fight was in great danger of being canceled, and I'm very excited to have Sean Strickland step up and go against Izzy. I mean, Izzy is going to most likely destroy him because his style, first of all, Sean Strickland, he's a nice boxer. He talks a lot of shit. I mean, they already have like a lot of beef from the press conference and like,
oh man, I made the champion mad with his fucking frosted tips and his gay little watch. Oh no! I'm just joking. Hey, Izzy is a savage, bro.
Hey, watch
No
out.
doubt.
Hey, what happened before we walked on stage?
Hey,
I smacked you on the ass like my bitch.
Bro, your Pornhub is just
And that's
filled with
facts.
cartoons, bro. No man that beats off the cartoons is gonna beat me.
Bro,
Calm
trust
down.
me. If
Calm down.
this is kind of like a crazy matchup where like Izzy is more of obviously like, the liberal fighter. He's a free spirit and all that. And Sean Strickland is like this like Trump, hoorah type of military guy and just this whole tough guy persona. But I do think this is still going to be a very fun fight because obviously both are probably most likely not going to opt to any type of wrestling. We're going to see a straight up stand up clinic. The thing is, Strickland doesn't throw a lot of kicks, and I believe that's where Izzy is his best strength. He knows how to find the distance, and he is a very precise puncher. Strickland likes to move in. He throws with a lot of volume, and he kind of like puts himself a little bit in the punching bag, but has that slick shell and kind of like rolls off. Your punches kind of roll off him when you throw at him. So that's going to be exciting. But obviously, you saw when Strickland first, Alex Pereira, he got cracked with that left hook. And obviously, what last fight happened to Pereira. Izzy put him out. And I do believe that Pereira is the much more violent guy compared to a guy like Strickland when it comes to MMA. So this Saturday night, I still think it's going to be absolutely insane. There's a lot of beef coming into this fight, and people just want to see Sean Strickland get knocked out, to be honest. But, there's a lot of people who are going to be rooting for Strickland, thinking it's going to be a huge upset of a night. Nonetheless, this is why this is going to be a very exciting fight. The co-main event is also going to be a fireworks show. You have hometown favorite Tai Tuivasa, who's going against the Russian giant, and that's Alexander Volkov. I mean, these two heavyweights are going to slug it out. I mean, what makes me most excited about this fight is Tai Tuivasa's style. I mean, he is coming off a 2-fight losing streak, but you have to understand the caliber. I mean, he won against a guy like Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane is, obviously, you saw his last performance is absolute. He moves like a ballerina and as a heavyweight. It's insane. So light on his feet, touch, 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 boom, boom. He just, it's beautiful. It's just watching like poetry, watching a guy like Cyril Gane, especially if you're trying to do anything with him in the stand-up category. And then he had a really tough loss to Pavlovich, and Pavlovich he's been a wrecking ball. Guys has straight TNT in his hands. He's been icing everybody. Guy like Volkov is, just he's been that big time contender in the heavyweight division. You know, he's always been a force to be reckoned with. He's never picked up a big series of losses. He's just, oh, he finds a way to bounce back. He is a very resilient, tough giant. Obviously, he's coming off two beautiful finishes, one against the monster, Alexander Romanov, and the big puncher, Yarizno Rozenstruik. I mean, obviously, the big fight to think about in the heavyweight division is obviously these two guys are obviously nowhere near any type of title talk. So this is just more of like everyone's holding down the ranking. These guys, whether one wins or the other one loses, I don't believe neither of them, their careers will be hurt in the long run, because this fight is not a deciding factor for essentially anything. It's just a really fun fight that we're going to get to enjoy, and I don't believe that this fight will go to the decision. I see Tai Tuivasa pulling up big, coming in underneath and throwing an overhand right and knocking out Drago. I mean, Volkov, his best strength to winning this fight is essentially doing everything that Cyril did. Keep Tai at a distance. Use those giant legs. A lot of body kicks, a lot of front kicks, a lot of, gut kicks. And then obviously using that reach, staying away from the fence and staying away from that close clinch. That's what kind of hurts big guys, is that dirty boxing when you come in, grab their neck up, push them against the fence, and essentially do a lot of body work and clinch work to take them out. I do believe Tai is going to be aggressive and get inside Volkov's guard and essentially possibly even bring him to the ground. Because Volkov, obviously, on the ground is his biggest weakness. When it comes to the stand-up, that's what he does best. That's his safe spot. He keeps you at range and he delivers big punches. He does have knockout power, but I just haven't seen him knock out anybody just clean with one punch. It takes, he kind of breaks you down and then he puts you out. He's one of those type of finishers. He's usually not the guy to put, first, second punch, he puts you to sleep. It's usually a gradual, he grinds you, beats you down till you're dead. I do believe that's still a really amazing co-main event between the two giants. The next matchup that we're going to be talking about is we have Justin Badman Tafa going against Austin Lane. The thing is, this fight has been essentially, they're running it again because the last fight these two guys had, Justin Tafa had an eye poke and they ruled it a no contest and it sucked. And this fight is exciting because obviously Justin Tafa, he's a local favorite. He's a wicked kickboxer. He really reminds me a lot of Mark Hunt. Like essentially either you're putting him out or he's putting you out. Not much in between. This dude is a crazy banger. And Austin Lane is just like that freak athlete. A lot of you might know he's a former defensive end. He played for the Kansas City Chiefs, the Detroit Lions, and the Chicago Bears. So, he's like a freak athlete. Guy was a defensive end in football. Then, he switched over to MMA. It's kind of like a Greg Hardy story, except he's not such a scumbag. How do I see this fight going? I find this exciting because he was putting in a lot of work, Austin Lane. He moves quick. I mean, he's a heavyweight, but he's a freak of an athlete. I mean, guy, his whole career running a crazy 40-yard dash. I mean, obviously everyone talks about NFL training, the combine. It's like one of the most difficult things to prepare for and go through is like football training, and the fact that he obviously can take that skill and move it into mixed martial arts. And he's been on a 6-fight win streak, and all of his fights, his 12 fights, have been by finish. So the fights he lost, he got finished, but he's a straight killer. And I do believe he's gonna run through Justin Tafa come Saturday night. This is going to be a lot of big guys fighting on this card. So there's going to be very little decisions going that night. That's really exciting. The next match is obviously another fan favorite and another local favorite, and that's in Tyson Pedro. He's going against the Ukrainian Anton Turkalai. This is a cool light heavyweight match. I mean, obviously, UFC paid huge homage to the country of Australia and New Zealand. This is like a big card for them. They wait all year, and obviously they have a lot of their guys that are on the main event that they're going to be rooting for. So that's super exciting. Obviously, Tyson Pedro, light heavyweight, big striker, trains with all these guys like Olberg, Justin Tafa, Tai Tuivasa, Adesanya. I mean, they're all out there in Sydney training together. He's going against Anton, and Turkalai is also a good fighter. You know, he had a nice showing on Dana White's Contender Series, but I do believe that the UFC put him against super, super stiff competition, and we weren't fully able to see him, you know, have the edge against any fighter. And Tyson Pedro, prior to his really terrible knee injury, he made a comeback, had two nice wins against some essentially journeyman, and then he had a loss against unanimous decision. I do believe he's going to make the right adjustments and pick up a unanimous decision against Turkalai. I think we're not going to see a knockout. I don't see these guys as violently finishing each other. I think they're going to ride this out the full 15 minutes, but I think Tyson Pedro is going to do enough to pick up the win. And the final fight that I want to go into be discussing is Carlos Ulberg versus Da Un Jung. And I mean, this is going to be a sick fight. I mean, obviously, Ulberg's on a 4-fight winning streak, you know, 3 finishes, and his only loss was to Nunchukwu. And obviously, Du Jung from South Korea, he's coming off two losses as of recently, but he's picked up a win against Nunchukwu. So this makes an interesting fight. Ulberg's on a tear, but he lost to one of the same opponents that the Jung beat. And the Jung's on a loss. So now these two, their roads collide. And at light heavyweight, this is going to be a sick fight. And I do believe that Ulberg is going to run through the Korean. I don't believe he has a chance, and I don't think this fight is going to even leave the first round. I believe it's going to be a first round TKO, KO finish by Ulberg in his hometown, just pumped, juiced out of his mind, ready to blow through anybody who's going to stand in front of him. I mean, he's a huge, huge prospect, and I do believe he is going to become a household name in the next coming years. So really keep an eye out for this. Guys, if you want to support us the most, we have some of the sickest merchandise around at notoriouspulls.com. Please check it out at the website below. Remember, this is your host, Mitch, from Notorious Pulls Radio, and we'll see you soon.